Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. Okay, so I want to talk Bradley Beal because we have some reported information out that he may have a few places that he'd be interested in going to if he decides to indeed go through with this trade request, which is not official as of yet, from what I understand. But we're pretty much understanding that we're there. So the teams that he's talking about possibly going to are the Miami Heat, the Golden State Warriors, the Boston Celtics, and the Philadelphia 76ers. I stumbled across a dude on YouTube, a cat named Big Herm 24, who had a video on this just now, and I took a lot of what I'm about to say from the information that he provided. So big shouts out to Big Herm 24. I pretty much agree with everything the man said. You know what I mean? So that was kind of cool. But so this is what I took from what he said in regards to the Celtics option. They have two trades that work in the trade tracker that he provided there, and one of them was this. I'm going to give you the longer one because it's still in my head. You got Aaron Naismith, a shooter from the Boston Celtics. You got Robert Williams. You got Tristan Thompson. You got 2 firsts, one from 2023, one from 2025. And you also got Marcus Smart heading to the Wizards for Bradley Beal. And, you know, that deal is this kind of the, you know, it's basically the package that you take if you're interested in getting some young players in Smart and Williams, and then, like, you know, a salary dump guy. You're probably going to just take on the salary for Tristan just to make it make sense. And you got the 2 first-round picks that are supposed to be the bulk of the value, I think, in that. The thing about that trade is that you're not getting back Jaylen Brown. You're giving up Bradley Beal, and you're not giving up Jaylen Brown. So, nah. That's not the greatest deal for the Washington Wizards. I do like Robert Williams. I think that he could be a part of a great front court there, young front court with him and Gafford. You know what I mean? I think that could be a fantastic shot blocking tandem, give the Wizards a lot. They'd be a defensive team bringing in Marcus Smart. It kind of gives them an identity. So that deal does have some things about it you like. Tristan Thompson could come in if you waive him, you know, get rid of that salary or what have you, or should I say stretch him? I don't know what you would be able to do there. If not, he could be on the team and kind of be a guy with some championship experience that can help that Wizards team along. I don't know how Denny Advija is doing right now in his recovery. I know he had a bad injury, but he's also a guy who was taken early in the draft last year, still with plenty of upside. He just has to get himself healthy and get his conditioning going. But I think that Russell Westbrook kind of took him out of his game because he's best with the ball in his hands, point guard with a lot of ability. So he's actually like a point forward, that Denny Advija. So, you know, that's kind of the direction they would be moving forward in bringing in the Celtics pieces. They wouldn't have a whole lot of shooting there, so they'd have to try to figure out what they want to do with that, losing Bradley Beal and likely Russell Westbrook. Bringing in the packages that they would have an entirely different team. Assuming if they did a deal with the Lakers, they'd be bringing in Kuzma, they'd be bringing in THT. So their Wizards team would be completely different with a bunch of Celtics and Lakers on it. It's not the greatest deal. I think they could probably find a better deal for Bradley Beal. And if he just wants to go to the Celtics, particularly as been reported, then I think he could probably manage to kind of force his way there if that's indeed the place he wants to go. So if he could force his way there, they may be able to get a better package for him. It may not have to, you know, the package doesn't necessarily have to go that way. So that's one package. The other package involves Jaylen Brown. It's Tristan Thompson, Jaylen Brown for Bradley Beal. And in that case, if you're the Wizards, you consider that for sure. You know, I look at that as almost a lateral move for the Celtics. Even though it's been reported that Bradley Beal and Jason Tatum are friends and want to play with one another. So if it's going to make Jason Tatum happy, maybe you consider it. But I just don't see the fruit in trading away Jaylen Brown, who's an all-star player, coming into his own, younger than Bradley Beal. Better defensively than Bradley Beal. And then bringing him in place, bringing Bradley Beal in his place, kind of just score the ball a little more. You know, Bradley Beal's one of those guys who just scores the ball. He's never played without a point guard, right? I don't know that the Celtics have one, being that they've given up on Kemba Walker. And now they got like Peyton Pritchard, who's a young guy who's going to be coming in. I don't know if they're going to bring in someone else. I think they're still looking for a point guard, so we'll see if they can swing one. Maybe Dennis Schroeder, obviously, if they do the Laker deal. So he's not a pass first point guard. So I'm not really sure how the team's going to look. Oh, wait, I'm getting that mixed up. Obviously, that's the Wizards. I'm talking about the Celtics. But the Celtics getting the point guard, I just don't know who they would bring in. Scratch Dennis Schroeder, that's opposite. But you know what I'm trying to say. Whoever they would bring in, it would have to be a pass-first point guard to complement Bradley Beal, because that's what he plays well with. That's who he plays well with, having had Wall and Westbrook his whole career. So this is how I look at it. If you're going to bring in Bradley Beal, if you're the Celtics, you're bringing in Bradley Beal, you try your very best to not give up Jaylen Brown. And if you're the Washington Wizards, you do your very best not to take a deal that doesn't have Jaylen Brown in it. So unless Bradley forces his way to the Celtics, I don't see this deal getting done. I don't. The packages just aren't appealing. You know, well, like I said, the Jaylen Brown package is fine. If you're the Washington Wizards, you happily bring Jaylen Brown into that situation and just build around him and Denny and try to see what you can do in the draft this year, etc. That's ideal for you. If you're the Celtics, you're like, well, we just did a lot of remove. There's nothing that's going to help us about this situation. There's nothing about this situation that's going to make us much better. If anything, we're just going to be a worse defensive team. And mind you, Kemba's leaving. So Bradley coming in, you're kind of almost like supplementing the offense that you're losing. Kemba and Jaylen potentially out, Bradley in, completely lateral move. All Bradley's doing is making up the points that those two guys are leaving. So nah, if you're the Celtics, you don't do this. Unless it's just what Jason Tatum wants, period. And then if that's the case, you know, I mean, I would tell Jason Tatum, you got good chemistry with Jaylen Brown. You've played with this guy your whole career. And you become all-stars together. Bradley Beal can come as a free agent. He can. You don't have to necessarily trade for him right now. Now, especially if he wants to be there. If he wants to be there, you don't have to trade for him. Now, it would benefit you to do so, a la AD, a la that whole situation with Paul George. He was offended the Lakers didn't trade for him when he wanted to be here. Same goes for Kawhi. But, like, you know, you just got to do what's best for your franchise. We were talking about Carmelo Anthony yesterday, if you watch one of my videos. Carmelo taught us a hard lesson. If you allow a team to trade their entire infrastructure for you, you're coming to a team that's not good. You may be dreaming of a certain type of atmosphere, but you're not going to be arriving to that. You're going to have to give the franchise time to build around you, and that could take 1, 2, 3, maybe never years. You feel me? It's just not. It's not the best strategy to contend. And I know it's really dope because players want to be empowered to move around. They don't want to feel obligated to stay in these bad situations even though they're under contract. But if you're going to sign a contract, what it allows you is your front office more stability in regards to building around you. If you're not seeing your contract through, these type of things are what leaves these environments so unsteady for the next guy, so unsteady for future talents and stuff. And I know a lot of guys don't care what happens in that regard, but that's kind of how these situations get so bad. They get left in disarray because a lot of guys don't stay on contract, and that throws your whole balance sheet, so to speak, off. It throws everything off if you're a GM, and it can really send teams in a spiraling situation. But some bounce back well from it, others don't. But you would much rather be Milwaukee than be in the situation that Washington's in right now. And that's needless to say. It doesn't work out for everybody, but you gotta get players what they want, and I see that's what the Celtics are trying to do for Jason Tatum. So we'll see. Now, as far as the other places that Bradley's talking about going to, and Golden State Warriors, I don't have packages. I didn't do the trade tracker and all of that stuff. But I can tell you that if he goes to the Golden State Warriors and they don't give up Clay or Steph, I think that team is going to be one of the teams that's favored to win the championship, for sure. I think that kind of goes without saying. You can't pair up that type of shooting in Golden State and expect to have a whole lot of success against them. They showed you when they had another guy, KD, that they were practically unbeatable. So if you bring in a guy that's even remotely as talented of a scorer as KD, you're going to see more of the same. And it gives them some insurance for Klay Thompson if he doesn't come back as strong as they would like him to, if he's not in the type of shape at the beginning of the season that they need him to be in. Bradley Beal obviously will help that. I would imagine they'd have to give up Wiseman. I'd imagine Wiggins is going to be in any deal. So, I mean, those are guys you'd be willing to give up, unfortunately, if you're the Golden State Warriors, if you're Wiseman. Nobody wants to give up on Wiseman this early, but that knee injury is kind of scary. So I can see why they'd be willing to field calls for him. Because at the end of the day, they're a win-now team. They don't need a young player right now. Trying to build around a young player, it's just not what Golden State's trying to do. Steph is still very much playing. Clay's still coming back. Draymond, those guys are still fired up and ready to go. I don't see them retiring within the next 2-3 years or so. Yeah, no, Wiseman needs to go into another situation, and I'm sure they will find him one. Maybe Washington is it. So, look at the Miami Heat. They're also in the sweepstakes. It depends on what they give up. Now, I don't think they should be looking to give up several players on that Heat team. There are certain players on that Heat team that I'm not willing to give up on. Jimmy Butler is obviously one of them. Bam Adebayo is the other. Not happening. Whatever you're asking for, you ain't getting either one of those two guys. So Washington can just nip that right in the bud. However, Tyler Hero seems realistic to me, even though, in my opinion, you don't give up on him either. But if you're trying to bring in Bradley Beal, yeah, you're probably going to have to give up either him or Duncan Robinson. And that's a lot of shooting. You're giving up what makes you special. Now, Bradley Beal's a hell of a scorer, hell of a shooter. So you're definitely going to have scoring. But I can make a legitimate argument that those two players together have more upside than Bradley Beal. I don't know if one of them does, but both of them together definitely do. I don't make that particular trade if I'm the Heat. If I can do that deal without giving up both of them, maybe if I can give up a bunch of picks and some other guys, I would be happy to do that. But you look around, you say Jaylen Brown's on the table. You look around, you may see that the Philadelphia 76ers are going to have Ben Simmons on the table. We're talking about them next. It's like, I don't know if the package of Miami Heat can put together is going to be going to make sense for them trying to keep up with other teams, you know what I mean, who are going to provide very, very serious packages. The Jaylen Brown package seems like the one that makes the most sense the more I think about it. It's just whether or not the Celtics will be willing to do it. So, yeah, and then you go on, as I said, Ben Simmons. That's everything is going to be centered around Ben Simmons. It's Philadelphia, I'd imagine. But they do have some other pieces as well that you'd be interested in. I'm a Tyrese Maxey guy. I like him a lot. Shake Milton is a player who needs a bigger role. I think he would get that in Washington. So Philadelphia has a very, very intriguing package. I think the thing about it is, though, Ben Simmons has other suitors. They have teams that are starting to talk about wanting to add Ben Simmons. And so I wonder if that's going to be the play that the Sixers are going to look to make. They have a very, very meticulous GM up there. And, Daryl Morey is not just going to make just a on-the-fly decision. He's going to do something that's unexpected, and it's going to be calculated. So I just wonder if he has bigger plans for Ben Simmons than just adding him to a deal that he may be able to swing without putting him in there. And plus, I wonder if Washington actually wants Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a player that you have to build around. He's an unorthodox player, and you need to have a lot of shooting around him. Washington could be a good fit for him, but they would have to start over in the rebuilding process. As to where if they add a player like Jaylen Brown, if they add certain pieces like the Laker pieces and stuff like that, it's a little more traditional to try to move forward and build. Rather with Ben Simmons, you need to get specialty players, specialty pieces to put around the guy. So I don't know if the Washington Wizards are up for that at all. I don't. I would imagine they wouldn't be. So I think the deal that the Washington Wizards would take would probably either not involve Ben Simmons or probably send Ben Simmons going somewhere else. Lots of picks will be involved to make the salary make sense. Maybe you see some players involved that you would expect not to. I look at a guy like Tobias Harris and think that he's probably somebody the Philadelphia 76ers do not want to trade. But if I'm the Washington Wizards, I'm probably asking for him if they're not willing, if they're not parting with Ben Simmons or what have you. If that's a player that I'm asking for if I'm the Wizards, giving up Bradley Beal. So it's a lot, it's a lot to take in. We'll still see if Bradley actually requests this trade. My understanding that his preference is to go play with Jason Tatum. And if I'm the Celtics, I'm not willing to give up Jaylen Brown. So this is going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. I wonder if Danny Ainge caves and gives up Jaylen. I wonder if he does, because I think they're looking at the situation and saying they probably are wondering if they want to pay him. You know, they're probably wondering if that pairing between him and Tatum is enough. You know, and I don't think those two players are the problem. I think it's the other pieces that they could work on or work around and try to make that team better. But you know, they're swinging for the fences, and I'm sure they have bigger plans after Bradley Beal as well. I'm sure they have another piece they'd want to bring in to pair with Jason Tatum and Bradley Beal. I know they're not done. So, yeah, man, we'll see, man. I was kind of all over the place. Didn't quite deliver this one as well as I would have liked to, but I hope you guys got the gist of what I was trying to say here. Bradley Beal may be on the move. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching.